Next question says, suppose demand and supply are given by the function QD is equal to 60 minus P and QS is equal to P minus 20. And part A says, what are the equilibrium quantity and prices in this market? And so, again, what is the rule for equilibrium, right? At equilibrium, we know that at this point, quantity demanded, QD, is equal to quantity supplied, right? And so what that means is we can just set these two equations equal to each other, because QD is equal to 60 minus P, QS is equal to P minus 20, and we know QD and QS at equilibrium are the same. So we get, let's type this out instead so that it's a little bit easier to read. You get something like 60 minus P is equal to P minus 20. We can add P to both sides. We get 60 is equal to 2P minus 20. And then you can subtract 20 from both sides. 40 is equal to 2P. And then finally, divide by 2 on both sides. P is equal to 20. And then we have equilibrium price, and we also want equilibrium quantity. So because QS and QD are the same, it doesn't really matter which one we plug back into. Let's just do QD. So QD is equal to 60 minus P, which is equal to 60 minus 20, which is equal to 40. 40. So we have our two answers here. Equilibrium price is at $20 and equilibrium quantity is at 40 units. Okay, let's check that with the previous tutor's answer. So previous tutor said, this is our two functions based on equilibrium. We know that these two are the same. Go through this whole process. Oh, did I do some bad math? I did do some bad math. It's not subtract by 20 on both sides, it's add by 20 on both sides. So instead of getting 40 here, it would be 80. And this is a price of 40, and then plug this in, we would get a quantity of 20. My bad, guys. That was a mistake. But right, so now we do math. We get P is equal to 40, equilibrium price is 40, and then I'll plug that into the QD equation, 60 minus 40, the quantity is 20, and that's the answer to the first part. So ignore my prior explanation where I made a bad mistake, and this is the correct answer here. The next question or part says, determine the quantity demanded, the quantity supplied, and the magnitude of the surplus if a price floor of $50 is imposed on this market. And so, well, we can first visualize this on the graph. We know here, right, that, can I draw? Okay, yeah, we know here that this equilibrium price is at 40 now, and we know that this equilibrium quantity is at 20. So what does a price floor look like at 50? It's gonna look something like this, right? So we can expect that quantity supplied will be high, quantity demanded will be low, and we're gonna have some sort of surplus, right? So let's do the math now. Math tells us, let's start with the quantity supplied. So the quantity supplied is given by P minus 20, QS is equal to P minus 20. And we know that the price is at a price floor of $50, and we know that there's no way the price naturally goes above 50, right? So the price will be the lowest it can possibly be given this price control. And so the price floor of 50 means price is equal to 50. So we get 50 minus 20 is equal to 30. So quantity supply is equal to 30. QD is next, 60 minus P. We get 60 minus 50 is equal to 10. So that's our QD. And finally, the magnitude of the surplus is simply going to be the difference between quantity supplied and quantity demanded. QS minus QD is equal to 30 minus 10 equal to 20. And so that's going to be the magnitude of our surplus. So we have 30, 10, and 20. Let's see what the previous tutor said. The previous tutor said quantity demanded will be 10. Right, plugging the value of the price floor into the demand function, we get 60 minus 50 is equal to 10. Due to imposition of the price floor, quantity demanded decreases from 20 units to 10 units. Okay, now plugging the value of price floor into the demand function, we can derive, I think that means supply function here. Supply function, we can derive P minus 20, 50 minus 20 is equal to 30. And so the surplus quantity is 30 minus 10 is equal to 20. So perfect, we got the same thing. And then finally, The final question is determine the quantity demanded and the quantity supplied and the magnitude of the shortage if a price ceiling of $29 is imposed. Also determine the full economic price paid by consumers. And so if we want to draw this out, it's again going to look something like this, where you're going to have a low quantity demanded, a high quantity supplied, and you're going to have the shortage, and then finally you're going to have this price over here, which is the price that consumers end up actually paying. So that's everything that we have to calculate, right? Let's draw this out one more time in a text box. Okay, so we have, let's start with QD. QD is equal to 60 minus P, and in this case we know that P is equal to 29, so 60 minus 29 is equal to 31. And QS is equal to P minus 20, and we know that P is equal to 29, so 29 minus 20 is equal to 9. And then the shortage is equal to D minus QS is equal to 31 minus 9 is equal to 22. So its shortage is 22. And finally, we want the price that consumers pay. So we plug in the quantity into the demand curve to see what the price would be. So QD is equal to 60 minus P. We set QD equal to 22 because we know that's the quantity. And then we say, what is P going to be? Sorry, it's not 60 minus P, is it? Right, so the price is going to be the right, so the price will actually be the intersection of the price floor onto the curve. So because the price is capped at $29, we just know that the ending price is $29 as well. And I think if we put that all together, we would get 54, I think, for the overall economic price being paid by consumers. Let's take a look at the previous tutor's answer. So the first part of this question is using, where does it start? Okay, price ceiling of $29. We calculate this on the demand curve. We get quantity demand is equal to 31, okay? Next, we use this on the supply curve. Plug in 29 for price, we get quantity supplied as 9, and then we get the shortage as the difference between quantity demanded and quantity supplied. The excess amount of demand is 22 units, and then we can plug in the quantity supplied of 9 into the right. So we plug this into the quantity demanded equation, and we would get 60 minus P, and we know that, I think this would be easier if we if I just redrew this graph. So this is just for part C. So we have our demand, we have our supply, we have equilibrium. This is price 40, this is 20, and then we have on part C a price ceiling, 29, gives us quantity supplied here, and quantity demanded here. We just calculated this. Quantity demanded is equal to 31, and quantity supply is equal to 9. And we want to know what the economic price is for these consumers. And so we would basically want to draw this line up from the quantity supplied level to this price over here to see what would consumers be paying if it weren't for the price ceiling for this good, right? And so we would get 9 plugged into a quantity demand equation. 60 minus P is 60 minus 9, so 51 as the economic costs. And so the economic price paid by consumers is $51. Okay, great. So I think we matched up very well with all of the previous tutor's answers, and so we can just mark that as correct.